Okay, I don't know why the thing didn't pop up before, but it's coming up now. This delay is the worst things about this platform. That delay is terrible. But welcome everybody to the show. I'm just sending the link out to those in the community app, and the community app is constantly growing every day. I am currently at 78 people who are attached to the community app. If you would like to be, it is absolutely free to you. All you have to do is text that number right there at the top, 301-747-0390, and you will be automatically added in. And every time I upload a new video, you will be notified at my convenience, because sometimes I may not be available readily to do or post the link out to you because I might be busy at the time, but I still send it anyway, even if I'm slightly a little bit late. What's going on? Let's see who we have here. JJ Smooth, what's going on? Joseph Washington, what's up? I know I have more than two people leaving the comments right now, but for some reason it just comes in slow on StreamYards, or Streamlabs, I should say, and faster on YouTube. It's the weirdest thing. What's going on, Nika? And happy belated birthday. And I'm glad that I was able to provide you with that triple P that you was asking for unexpectedly. Like I said, I didn't think I was going to. I honestly forgot that you told me that it was your birthday coming up and that you would prefer to have a triple P on your birthday. So it wasn't, I didn't intentionally do that. It just kind of happened. But I'm glad that it did. I'm going to have to go to my phone because these words are too light on the screen to read. So I'm gonna read from my chat. Let's see who we have here. Darlene, what's going on? Tanjon, what's up? Tina, Mickey Bricks 2.0, Sonia Cease, appreciate the compliment. What's going on, Flash? I will be over there on Jody's stream later on, of course, and you already know why. Uh, Ashen, what's going on? And let me tell y'all something. Y'all almost didn't get a stream today because I was on a live stream right before this that I just got off of, literally probably at 3:30 or a little after 3:30. So I'm literally still amped up from that live stream. And right in the middle of the discussion, we was almost done with the stream anyway. My internet goes out. Like it just stops out of nowhere. And I'm like, that would happen. And it was right in the point where I was setting up my tabs so we can go through and transition every story I'm gonna be talking about today. And I have quite a bit of stuff to talk about today. Um, and then I had to go and turn the router off and turn it back on. That red light was staying on. I'm like, what is going on? I said this would happen right before I started my stream. But it came back on. That little green light flickered and came back on. And now we good to go. Let's see who else do we have in here. RPM B1 Family, PGH Big Dog, Candy, Dewani, Nino Black, where have you been? I haven't seen you in a minute. I bet you over on Twitter they probably haven't let you back on. What's going on, Young Manhood? Alana, what's up? Vulcan 2050 for Versatile Legacy. Oh, and shout out to Versatile Legacy because you were a huge help to me this past weekend with this damn computer. This damn computer almost drove me insane this past weekend. But we got it fixed though, and it was a minor fix as well. What's going on, Pinky JYB, Gnome King, Bongani, Nika, R Train, what's up? Tawana, how are you doing? How was everybody's week? It was a very cold week where I'm at. Well, the not as cold as it was this past weekend. We got some snow. We finally got like a real snowstorm this past weekend. It snowed I want to say Sunday. I think it snowed Sunday into Monday and slightly into Tuesday. So we had 3 days worth of snow, but the snow is pretty much all melted. What's going on? Jay Walker, 007 Spidey 2. Oh, no problem on 007 Spidey. No need to be scared to come up on the panel when I do open it up. Uh, Mark Stewart, Janesta, what's up? What's going on? What is going on? What's going on, Kingdom Isaiah? Vampire Hunter Greg. Be lucky, Tina, that y'all don't have to deal with no snow because I had to shovel. You're right, Ashton. There's a lot of stuff I have to talk about today. And some of them are going to be video based. So because some of them are video based, I'm going to try my best not to stay on the article based ones too long. Because, of course, I have to talk about that whole situation with that girl that got tased. There's actually a little bit more to the story. And shout out to Kendra D, aka the Crimson Cure, for doing a thorough rundown of that video. And the crazy thing is, I told myself I was going to watch that video. I knew I had to bite the bullet today and eventually watch it because I had to talk about it. But she showed the entire video. Like, the video is more than what lamestream media put out there, a lot more than what people saw, which was, of course, the girl being tased. It was a lot of stuff that happened leading up to that. But we'll get into that part when I get to that portion of the stream. What's going on, Sean from the Shy? Suki B. Vampire Hunter Greg, what about her? I talked about her ass last week. I don't know what she done did now. So you said you moved south to avoid shoveling snow? Or just avoid the snow? I remember when I was in college, I went to college in South Carolina. And I remember one year it had snowed quite a bit in that state, and I was shocked that we got that much snow down there. But I enjoyed it at the same time because we didn't have to go to class the next day. What's up, Tony J? And in case y'all want to know what I'm drinking, this is my protein shake. It's by a company called Ghost Chips Ahoy chocolate chip protein with ice, and banana. Ashton, I saw Lisa had did a video talking about him, but I didn't look fully into it. When I saw her video, I was half asleep, so I have to go back and actually watch it. What's going on, JKH? Or someone said it's Trayvon Martin's birthday. Or happy birthday to Trayvon Martin. Woke in 2054 said they would never do some shit like that to a little white girl. You're right about that. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else that's coming in here. Son, you said there's a British journalist that's been exposing racist anti-black cops in America whose name is Richard Sudan. I might have to look into that. What's going on, Tatiana? All right, it is currently 4:11. Like I said, I have so many topics to go through, and I don't want to spend too much time just doing introductions. So I'm gonna go ahead and share this screen right quick, and we'll go right ahead and get into it. Hold on. Okay. So the first topic we have up today is a bit of good news, depending on who feels that is good or not, but it is to me. What's going on, handling? So, welcome, Debbie. You said you finally made it to a live. Well, hopefully this won't be the last live that you make it to. So, in case y'all have not heard, Disney has, well, Ryan Coogler has signed a 5-year deal, contract deal, however you want to put it, with Disney to do a series about Wakanda. And I think a lot of people are very excited about this because one thing that they felt was lacking from the Black Panther movie was the world of Wakanda. Like they feel that they did not explore the world of Wakanda enough to to the point where you can say or see how technologically advanced this place is, and it really is. Like if you read the comics, you can see that it's one of the most wealthiest places on the planet, and it's a very nice looking place to go to, especially that part in the scene where Killmonger's father was telling him about how beautiful the sunsets are there to go explore and see. You didn't really see that until the end of the movie. So I'm glad that they're actually coming out with a series that's going to explore that. And shout out to Ryan Coogler for getting that Mickey Mouse check, or checks, I should say. And something tells me that this show is probably going to come out after Black Panther 2, more than likely, which that comes out next year. But I'm curious to see how all of this is going to go. But one thing that's just came out on the second is the villain that could possibly be in this show. And it's a villain that many people have been wanting to come and appear in Black Panther. And that villain is no other than Namor the Submariner. Now, they kind of hinted at his character. If y'all saw Endgame, they said it was something that was happening in the water off of the coast, but they never explored what that disturbance was, quote unquote. But many are suggesting that it was Namor the Submariner, who is a prominent villain in Marvel, who has had several encounters with the Black Panther character. But that's pretty much it. Like I said, they just said that they're going to do a Wakanda-based series. You got a 5-year deal. Hopefully, they don't do no funny business with it because you know how they do. Now, a lot of people are saying, how are they really going to do this? Because Chadwick Boseman is no longer here. So I think that's where the worry comes from when it comes to this show, as well as the movie. Like, what direction is the new film going to take now that Chadwick Boseman is no longer here, and they already announced that um, they weren't recasting, because a lot of people grew an attachment to his portrayal of that role. Well, thanks for the correction, Black Tips comic and reader. You said Namor is an anti-hero, sort of like Deadpool. So he's not really a villain, quote unquote. But we'll see how it goes. I'm intrigued to see what direction this goes in. Ryan Coogler is going to be a very busy man for the next 5 years. I do know that. But that's pretty much it right here for this particular story. I'm sure if you like go and type it into Google or anywhere else, it goes into more detail. So let me go on to the next story. and that is Jeff Bezos. In case y'all have not heard, Jeff Bezos, the now former CEO of Amazon, has stepped down. He has taken a board position in his own company, which most CEOs tend to do. Like when they step down, they don't actually leave the company. They just take a board position, usually like a chairman position or something like that. But I never actually got a chance to read into why he actually stepped down, considering last year was probably one of the best years of his Amazon business with Woovid and all the stuff that people bought off of the site since they couldn't actually go to the store. What's going on, Lex C? So let's see what they're talking about. When I heard this week that Jeff Bezos is stepping down as CEO of Amazon, the trillion-dollar e-commerce and cloud computing behemoth that made him one of the world's richest humans, I thought back to a conversation we had in July 2018 on a stifling hot summer's day in West Texas. I had come to visit the launch facility of Blue Origin, a non-Amazon space exploration project to which he devoted one day a week. That must be nice. Bezos told me that the tremendous personal resources he had amassed liberated him. I won't spend any time in my life working on anything I don't think is important. He told me I'm just not going to. I don't need to. No, I'll do hobbies. I'll see movies. I'm talking about work. I'm not going to work on something that I don't think is improving civilization. I think the Washington Post does that. I think Amazon does that. And I think Blue Origin does that. And I'm not going to put productive energy into anything that doesn't improve civilization. Why would I? What would I be trying to do? So it just sounds like to me he's just like taking a back seat um to everything that he has pretty much amassed over. I'm not going to read the entire thing. It sounds like to me he's just taking a back seat to everything that he has amassed over time. But I said, well, isn't it interesting that he steps down as CEO of Amazon right after it gets announced that Elon Musk, the former owner of Tesla, is now the wealthiest man in the world. Sonia, you said, will he ever focus? I mean, will he ever marry his young Latina? Did you see what he went through with his ex-wife? I don't think he wants to go through that again. Sonia, I would repeat the comment that you just supposed to put in the chat book without any facts behind it. I'm not going to say it. If I were him, I wouldn't get married again. His wife took she got a huge chunk of that fortune out of that divorce settlement. What's going on, talking and grubbing? Meanwhile, Elon Musk is talking about creating life on another planet. I don't know if y'all heard about that. Well, not creating life on another planet, but going to another planet. But yeah, I forgot who they said is going to be the new CEO of Amazon. I never heard of the guy. But we know one thing's for certain. He's not going to be losing any money. Oh, nah. Jeff Bezos is not losing any money. Like, he's not about to get a decline in income whatsoever. Right, K Nicole. His wife is just giving out money left and right. His money that she got out of that divorce settlement. Ashton said he's doing this because people have been calling him out for a lot of shady stuff that he has done. Well, we've always heard for years about the shadiness of how the employees for Amazon would get treated, like, or the abuse in the workplace that they would receive, or the bad working conditions. That's why I could never work for Amazon. I'm like, if people say, "Would you ever work for Amazon?" I said, "Have you heard the horror stories?" Like, if you go online into YouTube and look up videos about people talking about Amazon and how it was in the work environment, none of them are good. You'll rarely find anybody say that the work environment was good working in an Amazon factory. What's up, Tony? Sonya said he might as well. She might that his girl might as well go get pregnant. Listen, Jeff Bezos probably makes her take a birth control pill in front of him and make sure she swallows it and she takes it on time. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying if he does or if he doesn't, but hey, Tony, you say you think K Dot works for Amazon? We'll have to ask him about that because I didn't know. I always see him wear like the warehouse vest, but I never knew who he actually worked for. But I'll ask him though and see his opinion about it. What's going on, Little Miss Firecracker? He said he didn't. According to many, he didn't treat any of his employees right at Amazon. Because when I was looking at the videos, it was a diverse crowd of people who had horror stories about working at Amazon. They would just say that the working conditions was terrible, and it didn't matter which Amazon factory or plant they worked at. Like they said, as a collective, they were all bad. Like I made sure when I looked at the videos of the people talking about it that I didn't just look at one location. I looked at reviews for people who worked at various Amazons around the establishment, and they all had come to the same consensus that it was some bad working conditions. Now, like I said, when it comes to like as a consumer for Amazon, they're top notch. Like they're up there. Like of course, I'm a Prime member. I am a Prime member for Amazon. One of the cons to Amazon I wish they had was I wish they had PayPal. Unfortunately, they don't. They not contracted with PayPal. Double O Seven Spidey T said, didn't he want to buy AMC? I think they did. I think they were in talks to buy AMC. I guess the deal didn't go through, but that don't mean the offer still isn't on the table. Because I know that they're building an Amazon warehouse right now in Arlington, Virginia, which is relatively like from where I am is about depending on which way you go, maybe like 25, almost 30 minutes, probably not less than that. It depends on how traffic is. Kaneko said they just reported that he closed one of his warehouses and he's making all of his employees have 2 weeks to decide if they want to stay or go to the other one where they will work 10 hours. Like I said, on the surface, Amazon is a great company. I mean, consumer wise, it's a great company. Business wise, it's another story. Right, K Nicole. Me and you thinking of the same place. That one over in Crystal City. Is it Crystal City? I think it is Crystal City. Yeah. But yeah, I almost applied to work at Amazon a few years ago, but then I decided, nah, nope. And they'll put those videos out there to try to make it seem like it's all great and everything like that. But it's a promo video, so they gotta make it look pretty. And because it's Amazon, they think, oh well, maybe I'll get some, the benefits and everything like that. Listen, the benefits of being a consumer for Amazon versus the benefits of being a worker for Amazon are two different benefits. I would rather have the benefits of the former rather than the latter. But I'm about to move on from Jeff Bezos and all the other Amazon talk and get into some more serious topics. So, we have this story right here. I was debating whether or not I was going to turn this into a pre-recorded video or wait to save it for the live stream, but I said I already have so many pre-recorded videos locked into the queue that have to be uploaded and so many more to come. Let me just go ahead and throw it into the live. So you see right here, it says, "Don't kill me. Others tell of abuse by terrorist who knelt on George Floyd." So now you have other people coming out who are talking about how Derek Chauvin has been known to abuse other people, and it looks like probably other black people, using the similar tactics that he did against George Floyd last year. This is actually a good thing. Not good in the sense of that he did this, but it's good for the case against him. This is a good case builder against him because they can't say that it's not related because he's using the same tactics. The only difference is he actually killed somebody this time. And now it makes sense of why he was so casual when he knelt on George Floyd's neck when he was looking at the camera. Because he's used to doing this. He's done this before. And I saw another article before I get into this one where it says that they are allowing Derek Chauvin and his wife Kelly Chauvin to go forward with their divorce. I saw that. I think that was one of the more recent articles that popped up, is that they're allowing them to go forward with their divorce. But let's see what they're talking about here. Nearly 3 years before the Minneapolis terrorist Derek Chauvin knelt on George Floyd as he cried out that he couldn't breathe last May, Zoya Code found herself in a similar position, handcuffed face down to the ground with Chauvin's knee on her. The terrorist had answered a call to a domestic dispute at her home, and Miss Cole said he forced her down when she tried to pull away. He just stayed on my neck, ignoring her desperate pleas to get off, Miss Cole said. Frustrated and upset, she challenged him to press harder than he did just to shut me up. I would not have said that, especially since he's already got you pinned. Not saying he wouldn't have done it anyway, but I wouldn't have said that. Last week, a judge in Minnesota ruled that prosecutors could present the details of her 2017 arrest in their case against the former terrorist who was charged with second-degree unintentional murder in Mr. Floyd's death. Just like I assumed, because the cases are similar in tone. It's just that, she survived her encounter with him. Miss Cole's case was one of 6 arrests as far back as 2015 that the Minnesota Attorney General's office sought to introduce, arguing that they showed how Mr. Chauvin was using excessive force when he restrained people by their necks or by kneeling on top of them, just as he did in arresting Mr. Floyd. Police records show that Mr. Chauvin was never formally reprimanded for any of these incidents, no surprise there, even though at least 2 of those arrested said they had filed formal complaints, which I'm sure went unnoticed or unheard or unread. Of the 6 people arrested, 2 were black, 1 was Latino, and 1 was Native American. Notice that none of them were palm colored. That's not a surprise either. The race of the two others was not included in the arrest report that the reporters examined. Now, why did they leave the other two out? Were they the PC? Discussing the encounters publicly for the first time in interviews with the Marshall Project, three people who were arrested by Chauvin and a witness in a fourth incident described him as an unusually rough officer who was quick to use force and callous about their pain. The interviews provide new insight into the history of a police officer whose handling of Mr. Floyd's arrest, captured on video, was seen around the world and sparked months of protests in dozens of cities. Mr. Chauvin, who was fired, has said through his attorney that his handling of Mr. Floyd's arrest was a reasonable use of authorized force, but he was the subject of at least 22 complaints or internal investigations during his more than 19 years at the department, only one of which resulted in discipline. Did y'all hear that? So this guy had 22 complaints out of the 19 years that he's been there. He's had more complaints than he's had years working in the department. And only one time did he receive discipline, which apparently was more of a slap on the wrist than anything. So that says more to the department that doesn't handle him correctly than it says about him. It says these new interviews show not only that he may have used excessive force in the past, but that he has used startling similar techniques. Well, you know what? I say they dig all that information back up. Use everything against him as they possibly can. Get a very strong, solid case against him that can take his ass down. All four people who told of their encounters with Mr. Chauvin had a history of run-ins with law enforcement, mostly for traffic and nonviolent offenses. Ms. Cole's arrest occurred on June 25, 2017. In a court filing, Mr. Chauvin's lawyer, Eric J. Nelson, said the officer acted properly in the case, responding to a violent crime in a volatile situation. He said that there was nothing unreasonable or unauthorized about Mr. Chauvin's actions. And see, the thing is this, because they continue to let this guy go on and on and on for so long, that's what led to George Floyd's murder. So I'd say this, don't just go after Derek Chauvin or the other three terrorists that were with him. Go after the entire department that, as far as I'm concerned, enabled his behavior. Because by keeping him on the force for all these years while he was doing this, and y'all knew he was doing this, y'all basically were okaying and were okay and complacent with all of his misdeeds. If they had struck when they were supposed to, George Floyd would still be alive today. Miss Cole's mother had accused her of trying to choke her with an extension cord. According to the arrest report, Miss Cole said in an interview that her mother was swinging the cord around and that she merely grabbed a hold of it. She said that she had left the house to cool off after the fight. When she returned, Mr. Chauvin and his partner had arrived. In the prosecutor's description based on Mr. Chauvin's report and body cam video, Mr. Chauvin said Miss Cole, she was under arrest and grabbed her arm. When she pulled away, he pulled her to the ground face first and knelt on her. The two officers then picked her up and carried her outside the house face down. Their prosecutor said Mr. Chauvin knelt on the back of the handcuffed woman even though she was offering no physical resistance at all. Listening to that description, it plays out just how Derek Chauvin handled, or should I say mishandled, George Floyd. It sounds exactly the same. Let's see here. Ms. Cole, in an interview, said she began pleading, "Don't kill me." At that point, according to the prosecutor's account, Mr. Chauvin told his partner to restrain Ms. Cole's ankles as well, though she was not being physically aggressive. See, when it comes to us, they think that physically aggressive is just merely squirming around, like just doing little movements. Meanwhile, Palm Colored can actually get aggressive and allowed to get away with being aggressive. You know, because our aggressive and their aggressive are two different types of aggressiveness. As he tied her, she said she told the officer, "You're learning from an animal. That man, that evilness right there." Misdemeanor domestic assault and disorderly conduct charges filed against Ms. Cole were ultimately dropped. The earliest incident in which prosecutors said Mr. Chauvin used excessive force took place on February 15, 2015, when he arrested Julian Hernandez, a carpenter who was on a road trip to Minneapolis to see a band at the El Nuevo Rodeo nightclub. Mr. Chauvin worked as an off-duty security officer there for almost 17 years. The arrest report filed by Mr. Chauvin said Mr. Hernandez tried to leave the club through the wrong door, and Mr. Chauvin stopped him and escorted him down a stairwell. Mr. Hernandez said in an interview that he had been drinking, but felt like Mr. Chauvin was pushing him down the stairs. And this is the guy right here that they're talking about. Outside, Mr. Hernandez said things escalated. Mr. Chauvin's report said that Mr. Hernandez tried to turn around as he was preparing to handcuff him, so he pushed him away by applying pressure toward his lingual artery at the top of the neck. Mr. Hernandez said the officer told him, "You just need to leave," and he remembered thinking that he was trying to leave but was not being allowed to do so. As Mr. Chauvin pushed him into a wall and grabbed him by the throat, Mr. Hernandez recalled thinking, "You're choking me." Mr. Hernandez said he tried to sue the department, but no lawyer would take his case. He was charged with disorderly conduct, but under a court agreement, he avoided punishment by staying out of trouble for a year, records show. Mr. Nelson, the officer's attorney, said in a court filing that there was no evidence that Mr. Chauvin acted improperly in dealing with a resistant, aggressive arrestee by himself. Under the judge's order, only Ms. Cole's arrest among the 6 other cases showing what may have been excessive force can be used at Mr. Chauvin's trial. Prosecutors also sought to include 2 additional cases they said showed just the opposite, that Mr. Chauvin knew how to use reasonable force to properly restrain a person. The judge's order will allow them to use one of those cases, an incident in which the police department commended Mr. Chauvin and other officers for taking life-saving steps in placing a restrained suicidal man on his side so he could breathe. Mr. Chauvin even rode with the man to the hospital, according to the prosecutors. According to the Attorney General's office, the arrest showed that he knew how important it was to avoid breathing problems in detainees. When he did not put Mr. Floyd in a similar side position, prosecutors contend he understood that it could jeopardize his life. Mr. Chauvin's lawyer objected to any of the previous arrests being admitted at his trial, which is set to begin in March. He argued that Mr. Chauvin's actions were not crimes, but rather part of Mr. Chauvin's job as an officer, and that a police supervisor at each arrest scene reviewed his use of force and concluded that it comported with the department standards. This is a lot to take in. There's a lot of BS to take in as well. Jay Walker, you said it sounds like a fetish. That's an interesting choice of words, considering he keeps using the same techniques over and over again with several people over the years. The same exact technique. Like, he doesn't switch it up at all. Let's see. The Minneapolis Police Department did not respond to queries about past complaints against Mr. Chauvin. Critics say the department has a long history of accusations of abuse, but never fully put in place federal recommendations to implement a better system of tracking complaints and punishing officers. Only a handful over the years have faced firing or serious punishment. Appreciate you for the super chat, Genuine Trucker Twan. He says, "Salute, brother Turian. Salute to you as well." Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, it's more. Okay. It says, in another case, prosecutors highlighted to try to establish a pattern of excessive force. A man said he landed in the hospital overnight after an encounter with Mr. Chauvin. The man Jimmy Bostic had made a purchase at the Midtown Global Market in April 2016 and was waiting for a ride when private security guards asked him to leave. When a different shop owner had accused him of panhandling, the arrest report said Mr. Bostic argued and Mr. Chauvin was called in. Is he like the only person they can call? Mr. Chauvin escorted Mr. Bostic outside, writing in the arrest report that Mr. Bostic had threatened to spit on the owner. "I closed distance with Mr. Bostic," Mr. Chauvin wrote, "and secured his neck head area with my hands." Mr. Bostic said in an interview that Mr. Chauvin and the private security guards attempted to put him in cuffs. He yanked his arm back. "The next thing I know, I felt my arms was wrapped around my neck," he said. "I started telling him, 'Let go. I have a problem breathing. I have asthma. I can't breathe.'" Are y'all noticing a pattern here? This guy has a huge choking thing that he got going on here. Mr. Chauvin's lawyer in a court filing said the officer acted reasonably and followed police policy in restraining Mr. Bostic, who said he was refusing orders and making threats. After he was released from police custody at the scene, Mr. Bostic said emergency medical workers took him to a hospital. Suffering from an asthma attack, he said he stayed for over a day. A disorderly conduct charge against him was ultimately dropped. They have made so many excuses for this guy and said that he's acting reasonably for everything he's doing, but they bring up charges against the people that he's doing this against, only to drop the charges later on. Notice that none of the charges that they bring up against the victims ever stick. Looking back on Mr. Floyd, that could have been me, said Mr. Bostic, who is now in state prison on an unrelated burglary conviction, and I would no longer be alive right now to even tell my story. Oh man, there's more. How long is this article? Monroe Skinaway, a 74-year-old Minneapolis resident, was a chance witness to another incident prosecutors cited that occurred in March 2019. He said in an interview that he had called the police after he spotted his grandson's stolen car parked at a South Minneapolis gas station. As he answered police questions about the car, Mr. Skinaway said he saw a young man wandering nearby asking officers to give him a ride. Mr. Skinaway said the man seemed off. The man, named in the arrest report as Sir Riley Pete, age 26, followed one officer to a squad car. After Mr. Pete refused to take his hands out of his pockets, the officer tried to grab him and they scuffled, the police report said. Now listen to this. This happened in March 2019. Almost exactly a year before what happened with George Floyd. Almost exactly a year. That is when the other officer, identified in the report as Mr. Chauvin, sprayed Mr. Pete with mace. Mr. Chauvin restrained him by the neck and pinned him face down on the ground by kneeling on his lower back, according to the prosecutor's description of body camera video. Mr. Skinaway said he remembers seeing the officer on top of Mr. Pete, but also something not mentioned in Mr. Chauvin's account in the arrest report. Mr. Skinaway said the officer put Mr. Pete's head face down in a rain puddle. Look, he tried to drown him. Other officers were present as well, he said. He said, "I can't breathe. Can I just put my head up?" Mr. Skinaway said. And they just held his face in the water, and I couldn't see a purpose for that. Mr. Skinaway said he was about 7 feet away as he watched Mr. Pete struggle for air, bubbles surfacing as he tried to breathe. He estimated the officer kept Mr. Pete in the puddle for 2 or 3 minutes. Whenever Mr. Pete managed to turn his head for air, Mr. Skinaway said the officer grabbed him by his long hair and put his head back into the water. Let me guess. By the time I get to the part of the article when it comes to the charges, they're going to say, oh, he acted reasonably for what he did. When he spoke by phone with a reporter, Mr. Skinaway said he did not know the officer's name or that there was a connection with the Floyd case, but the details he described matched those noted in the police report and prosecutor's account. Mr. Chauvin's lawyer, Mr. Nelson, said in the court filing that the officer had acting there it is. Who is this Mr. Nelson? Because he comes up with more excuses for this dude than I can count. He said he acted according to police policy. So police policy is you holding someone's head down in water. If that's police policy, I need to see what department did he work for? Was it somewhere in Minneapolis? I need to see their book on their policies, because he's acting well within too many policies that seem to be, to me, way over the top. He said it was after midnight in South Minneapolis, and the man who refused to remove his hands from his pockets reportedly approached the officers after being told not to. He said the filing said Mr. Pete's actions had created concerns for the officer's safety. Mr. Pete was charged with misdemeanor obstruction of the legal process and disorderly conduct, but it is unclear from court records what happened to the charges. The records show Mr. Pete has a history of court-ordered treatment for mental illness. In a phone call, Mr. Pete told a reporter that he did not recall the encounter. Some of those whom Mr. Chauvin arrested said that learning the same officer had been involved with Mr. Floyd's death made them regret they had not pushed harder to hold the officer and the department accountable. I don't have anything against cops. I got relatives that are cops, said Mr. Hernandez, the carpenter arrested at the nightclub, but he should have never been on the force that long. That was a lengthy article right there, but it gave us a little insight to who this guy is. Now y'all see why I call him a terrorist. Appreciate the super chat. Solo Dole, he says, don't let these race soldiers catch you slipping. They will take your life and most likely get away with it. You ain't lying about that. But yeah, that was a lengthy article. And at first I'm thinking it was only going to talk about her. But it went into more people. And this guy has had almost 2 decades of doing this. But like I said, they need to hold the department accountable for allowing this to continue to go on. And I need to see the policy in their book. I need to see the policy. Because that lawyer of his kept saying that he acted well within his policies to do what he did. He didn't. But I'm glad that they're going to link some of the cases that involve these people to the trial, and they just need to get him. Point blank, period. If they don't want a repeat of what happened last year after George Floyd was murdered, they better do it. They better do the right thing. That's all I'm going to say. But let me move on to the next story. This story right here blew me away. I'm like, are you serious right now? Sorry for those of you who might have a weak stomach behind this, but I said, let me just go ahead and insert this in here. This article was posted on January 28th, 2021. It says China is using anal swabs for COVID testing. When I first heard about this, I'm like, so we've gone from putting the swab up the nose to now putting the swab in the rectum. I'm trying to figure out how you are able to detect COVID by doing that. And hopefully, if they're doing that, well, it's not if, according to this, they are. Let that stay over in China. So it says China is not giving up on nasal or throat testing, but the country has adopted a new method for detecting the virus. Anal swabs. Anal testing is being used so far only on select groups, mainly high-risk cases and people in quarantine. Some people who have been subjected to anal testing include passengers arriving in Beijing. Oh, that means if y'all plan on going to Beijing, y'all better and I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. And a group of more than 1,000 school children and teachers who were thought of to have been exposed to the virus, Forbes reported. The use of anal swabs is limited because it's invasive and inconvenient. I bet. If a stool sample can't be obtained, a saline-soaked cotton swab about 1 to 2 inches long is inserted into the anus with the sample tested for active traces of the virus. Li Tongxing, Deputy Director of the Respiratory and Infectious Diseases Department at Beijing Youan Hospital, said in an interview with state media that anal swabs appear to be more accurate at detecting the virus than nasal or throat testing. Now, see, that's scary. Because what if that they was to go with that and then they start doing that over here? Anything is possible. Don't say what can't and what won't happen. The virus lives longer in excrement or the anus than in the respiratory tract, he said, meaning anal testing might have fewer false negatives. Last summer, Future Medicine published research by Chinese scientists into a small number of WUVID patients. In a few cases, people tested negative for WUVID in throat and spit testing, but tested positive with anal swabs. We propose that anal swabs as the potentially optimal specimen for SARS-CoV-2 detection for evaluation of hospital discharge of COVID-19 patients. But not every scientist supports the practice of anal swabs.
Yang Zhang-Hu, and I probably butchered their name, a pathologist at Wuhan University, told the Global Times that nasal and throat swabs are still the most efficient test because the virus is contracted through the respiratory system, not the digestive system. There have been cases concerning the virus testing positive in a patient's excrement, but no evidence has suggested it had been transmitted through one's digestive system. Listen, they can keep that. They can keep that. There's enough people right now that don't even want to do the one with the nose. So you think you want to take a 1 to 2 inch cotton swab and put it in their rectum? That wouldn't fly over here. Well, I have a feeling that some people might like it. I don't have to go into detail about who that some people are. The only time, for the most part, whereas let's say a guy wants something back there, is when he's getting that colon tested, and even then, many don't want to even go for that. And it's probably some women out there that wouldn't want this to get done for them either. Like, could you imagine that? First off, imagine if you had to be the one to administer this. Imagine if you had to be the one to administer this, and you had to take a cotton swab and next. Imagine y'all are gonna laugh at this because I'm laughing at it. I'm laughing at it right now. Imagine. Could you imagine if someone said, "I feel like I need to get this test done," and they got diarrhea? Like, what if someone comes up in there and they got to get that test done and they start farting all over the place? Like, what did you eat? I don't know what China got going on. That's some weird stuff right there. But let them keep that over in China, please and thank you. Like, don't bring that over here. Because as many freaks of nature as it is running around in this establishment, this is the last thing we need. Imagine people say, "Oh, I'm not going to go get a WUVID test done." Oh, guess what? Now we're going to do anal swab testing for WUVID. You're going to have all these freaks out here going to run out there and they're going to get it just to pleasure. Can you imagine people going to go out there and to get this to pleasure themselves? I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, China, I don't know what y'all got going on. Y'all can keep that. And the fact that you even think that this is going to be a good thing, like they even said that you can't get this through your digestive system. It comes through your respiratory. It comes through here, not through in your in your stomach region. It doesn't come through that. So I have a feeling that somebody in China who came up with this probably just wanted a chance to fulfill some kind of sick fantasy. Shout out to you, JK. She said no. But yeah, China, y'all got something. Yeah, y'all can have that. Y'all can have that. Let me move on to the next story. Shit. Well, apparently on this website I cannot go any further than this because this is the damn New York Times and you know how they get. But at least y'all can see this right here. Now, this person I've been wanting to talk about for a minute, ever since I first learned about her. And that is
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't feel like I have to ask anybody who's watching this stream right now, do y'all know who she is? I think for the most part, y'all are all familiar with this woman and all of her antics that she has been delivering to us, unfortunately, for the last month, ever since we've come to know her. Now, my thing is this. Why would you put someone like her in this position knowing the type of person that she is? Like, this woman is completely unhinged and unstable. Like, she isn't like every word that ever came out of her mouth was controversial. But one thing that she said that stuck out to me was when she was talking about black people. Well, she threw black and brown in there. And I always said this, and I think now y'all are starting to agree with me unless you already saw it already. Notice they always say, and I flash thanks for the Cash App. Notice that they always say black and brown whenever something bad is happening. But when they can find a way to separate the two, is usually when they're doing good and we're doing bad. But if they can lump us in together somehow, it's usually something negative. She says something about, and I can't remember exactly the exact words she said, but it was something about black and brown people or black and Latino people and gang affiliations, like being tied to a lot of gangs and all type, the typical stereotypical thing that they've been saying about black people for years. That was one of the first things I've ever heard about her. She said other things before, but that right there, I heard that. I heard when she said that. But as you all know, she has said so many other things. Like, I was actually trying to see if I could find a list before I started the stream, a list of things that she has said. But I couldn't find it. They probably don't even have a record of it because she says so much that they do. But she says so much. Like, everything she says out of her mouth is controversial. And almost none of it has or holds any weight. It's like she just, every time she opens up her mouth, crap just falls, just spews out of it like a waterfall. Well, the update that came today, and as you can see right there on your screen, as much as you can see, because I can't read the entire article, it says House exiles Marjorie Taylor Greene from panels as Republicans rally around her. I appreciate the super chat on live from NYC. He says, respect and bless historian. So they stripped her of her powers. What was that vote about yesterday? That was the strip her of her policymaking powers. So while she's not out of while she's not out of that sector, she can't make any policy changes. So basically, she's just there. She's just sitting there. She's just there. But the thing is, with as controversial as she is, that's not going to stop her from continuing to make these statements that she's been making. It's just that they said that this woman is too unhinged and too unstable to be making any type of policy. So she's still there. She's not completely removed. She just can't make any policies. And of course, you have Republicans are going to rally behind her. But what I find also interesting is that there are a lot of Republicans who are not behind her. It's actually some Republicans that voted to get her removed or get her policy powers stripped from her. But I've seen like old clips of her like back in 2018 and stuff like that, where she was just saying some weird, and I do mean some weird things. And see, it was the perfect setup because she was, I think she was put in place by 45. So while she can't make any policies, she can't technically be kicked all the way out either. And then when it came to voting, they took so long with the voting process to vote her to get her power stripped. Like they took hours. Like it came down to the wire where like they only needed a small margin left to strip her of her powers, and they dragged that thing on out. Like they didn't want to get rid. Like they didn't want to take her policy making powers away from her. Versatile legacy. You said she will run in 4 years and she will win. We'll see. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but we shall see. But yeah, but hardly nobody there liked her. Like every time, I'm sure they probably was like rolling their eyes every time she got up to the mic and the podium to speak or say something. But she says so many random, off the wall things, and like a lot of it didn't make any sense. Live from NYC, you said, "I know she mad. I don't really, to be honest, I don't care how she feels. I don't care. I don't care how this chick feels. She could be mad. She could be angry. Whatever. But she she's been a problem since day one. If you can't even have your own constituents agree with you and they vote against you, that's a problem. Live from NYC says she's the queen of Karens. Well, if that's the case, there's a lot of Karens out there that hold that title. But I wouldn't exactly call them queens either. So, genuine trucker says just another deranged cave demon. Oh yeah, that woman is off her rocker. I don't know if she takes any meds or whatever, but she definitely needs to go see somebody. She needs to go to lay on somebody's couch or anyone who's willing to listen to her, because she probably annoys everybody she comes in contact with. Oh yeah, Vulcan. Like it says right there in the top, they said that the House exiles Marjorie Taylor Greene from panels as Republicans rally around her. It says Democrats press past Republicans' objections to remove the Georgia freshman from her two committee posts in a vote without precedent in the modern Congress. She was bad for business. Point blank period. And what the crazy part about it is, she just got this job. It's not like she's been in this position for months. She just got this job last month. This is one of the last positions 45 gave out before he left office. And that's the reason why they can't remove her out of there completely, because they were not the ones that put her in there. 45 put her there. That's why she's still there. If anything, if that's the case, 45 got a wicked sense of humor. Because he knew if that was the case, he knew what he was doing putting her there. He's like, hi, you think so? I'm not gonna get back in. You want to impeach me? Fine. I'm gonna put this woman right here in, and she's gonna talk a whole bunch of crap. And then when you try to get her removed, you're not gonna be able to fully remove her because I put her there. Nika, you're missing a few PC women. You said Susan, Karen, Sarah. You're missing Hannah, Anna, Gertrude, Alice. But yeah, this woman she's a piece of work. Most definitely, without a doubt. But I'm going to go ahead and move on from this chick and move on to one of the most craziest stories that came out in the last week or so. I would say in the last week or so. And that's this story right here with this girl in New York. Brace yourselves. That's all I'm gonna say. And this will probably be a stop and go type of commentary because I can't. It's 10 minutes long, 10 minutes and 53 seconds long. With what we're talking about, also is 1 or 2, so it's another part. Hopefully, I don't know. I don't know what the second part is, but I think most of the stuff that was being covered was in the first part. I have a question. Before I play this video, has anybody in the chat seen the entire video? What's going on? Patience is a virtue. But has anybody in the chat seen the entire video? Not just the part that got us outraged, but have you seen the entire video from beginning to end? Jay Walker, this is the video of the girl, the 9-year-old girl in New York who got tased. Okay, so Live said that they haven't seen the video, the entire video. Darlene said they haven't seen the video at all. Noam King said you haven't seen the whole video, no, but I've heard it. Okay, see, this is why I'm pulling up the whole video. Because I'm seeing people that have said either they have not seen the video at all or they have not seen the entire video. So that's why I'm pulling up the entire thing. As a matter of fact, this video has so many dislikes. It's crazy. Shout out to Josh Norris for the super chat. He says, keep doing your stuff. I will, of course, most definitely. Genuine, yes, this is the one where they tased the girl. So everybody in the chat, for the most part, has said that they have not seen the entire video or they have not seen the video at all. Oh, this is going to be a doozy. But you know what? I know why they only show part of the video. When you watch this entire video, because I had the displeasure of having to watch this entire video already. That's why I asked, did anyone watch it? But shout out to Kendra D, aka the Crimson Cure, because she actually played the entire video. As a matter of fact, I had to go to her YouTube channel to retrieve the link, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have found it. Hopefully the sound comes through. It did when I tested it earlier, but we'll see. So I'm gonna go ahead and play the video. I'm gonna do a stop and go type of thing, and then we'll go from there. Okay, K Nicole B. Just on that comment you left, that lets me know that you probably saw the whole video. But we'll go into that. And don't worry, the video starts off quiet. Like, you don't hear anything just yet. At first I thought it was something with the sound, but the video is just quiet right now. No sound is coming in just yet. Let me see if I can skip ahead a little bit.
Come here. I'm not gonna walk all the way down the street for you. Come here.
Okay, so first pause. Y'all see right there the person with the book bag? That's the little girl. That's the little girl that got tased.
It's freezing out.
No!
Stop. 247.
I am not.
247. I got her at 76 Harris. Just start a rig.
Get off of me!
Stop. What's going on?
Get off of me!
What's going on?
Get off of me!
I'm not gonna get off.
Get off!
What is going on? How can I help?
Get off!
No,
I don't
because
want
you're not
to be
gonna run.
there!
Harris, you're not gonna run away from me, okay? Because I'm gonna have to chase you, okay? And I got like 6 other cars coming to chase you.
I don't care.
All right?
I don't care.
Well, come and talk to me, please.
I don't want to fight you.
Dear. What is going on? What did you tell your mom? What did you tell your mom?
I'm not worried.
Huh?
I'm not going.
Huh?
I'm not going.
That's fine. But what did you...
Okay, so in case y'all are wondering what happened leading up to this little girl, she ran from home. She ran from home, and the cops are looking for her because I think that her mother called them to see if they could find her daughter. She ran from home because if you notice, the cop asking her brought up her mom. Like, he almost brought it up instantly. And she says that she's trying to get away from her. So it makes you wonder why, like, what's the dynamic going on here? Why is the child running away from home? Why is she trying her best to get away from her mom? That's why I'm playing this whole video, because people need to see what led up to this. You only saw the effect, but you didn't see the cause. Granted, them tasing her was excessive. I will say that. We haven't even gotten to that part yet. We're not even close to that part yet. But trust me when I tell you, it gets more interesting and even more disturbing from here. And we're only 2 minutes and 9 seconds in.
What did you tell your mom? What happened? Why are you so upset?
She stabbed my dad.
Who did?
So did y'all hear that? The cop asked her what happened. And the girl said that her mom stabbed her dad. So that shows you right there, there's some kind of domestic disputes going on in that household.
She did? Okay.
My blood you seen off of my lip. The fuck?
No, it was not, because when he walked in the house, he was holding his stomach.
It was my blood. How the hell?
And now you hear the mother. That's the mother coming in.
So your lip gonna bleed all the way down to your stomach, to your pants.
Fighting on the porch.
Who's
Yes,
your dad?
grown ass little girl. You're grown as a bitch. You
who's
don't
your
know what
dad?
you're talking about. Look at you.
Who's your
That
dad?
was your blood of your lip. That much blood?
Yes, he had me in the headlock. You finna really make me do.
Man.
Really finna go in on your ass. Now, cause she's 9 years old and she's really behind. That's why she's done. That's why she's.
Is it just me or does the mother sound very young? The mother sounds very, very young. It's almost sounding like she's talking to another teenager.
Done. It's okay. You sit there and watch this man put his hands on me all the time. All the time.
Did you stab him?
No, I didn't.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
How do you know that?
Because
How do you know that?
Yes, because when he walked in the
Come
house,
to my car, let's
when he
talk.
walked
It's
in the
freezing
house,
out. Come on.
he was holding. Okay, so your
Hold on.
lip gonna
I'm
go
not-
to his blood, and
He had me in the headlock.
I'm not
So you
saying...
stabbed him?
I'm sitting here arguing with it. Yeah, I stabbed him. I stabbed him.
Yes, you did.
I just put the police on him. They gonna find him.
No.
Yes.
No.
They gonna find him.
Dude, just
And
come
we
with
gonna
me to
see.
my
You
car,
gonna get your
right?
ass for sitting here lying.
I'm not.
Come on.
I'm not going to that.
First of all, Steviana, you gonna bring your ass to this motherfucking house, and I'm gonna ask you one more time.
Listen to how she talks to her daughter. And that's something Kendra pointed out in her video. Listen to how she talks to her daughter. You're going to bring your MF and A in this house. That's one thing I cannot stand, is seeing parents talk to their kids like that, like they're grown. I cannot stand hearing that. And I have seen that in public.
You gonna bring your ass to this house if I yoke your ass up and drag you home. I got custody. You're my child. So you gonna take your ass home right now, and you gonna take your ass in the house.
Now look at how the mother just got in her face like that. This is a mother talking to her 9-year-old child like that. Getting in her face like she wants to fight her. And when I was looking at Kendra do a breakdown of this video, I said she reminds me so much of Monique's character in Precious. I think we've all seen that movie Precious, despite how we feel about it. And this is the vibe that I'm getting from her. Now look, there she is. Look at what happened. She just went and got aggressive with her daughter. She ran up to grab her. She ended up grabbing her, but the cop had to hold her off. If the cop wasn't there, who knows what would have ensued in that snowstorm.
helping her.
Go the
Not
fuck in the
helping
house
her.
now.
Come on. Man,
I wish you might.
if you want my help, just
I wish you might.
stop. Stop.
Who the fuck is you talking to like that? Who the fuck is you talking to like that? Who the fuck is you talking to like that? No.
Shout out to Solidola for the super chat. He said she abused her daughter verbally, mentally, emotionally, and physically, and then called the cops on her. Yeah, it's crazy. A crazy dynamic. And notice in this clip right here, she's still trying to put her hands on her.
Come on, you gotta come with me.
I mean, she cussing her out and everything. Like, she didn't even, I don't even think I heard her say the child's name. She called her MF. I think she even called her a B and all of that. This tells you right here, what's going on outside right here is definitely going on in the house, probably even 10 times worse.
What are you talking to like that?
Come on, dear. Alright, listen, do me a favor. Go back to the house. Alright? Dear, you're not running away from me. You're not running away. Come on.
Can I help ya?
Come on.
And then you got them people right there going to pull over and be nosy. Like, don't y'all got some business to tend to? Like, go on somewhere before y'all get stuck out in that snowstorm.
Come on.
Can I help ya? Can I help you?
Come on.
Can I help you?
Alright, let's go. Stop. Enough.
Can I help you?
Enough.
And you can suck my dick. And you can suck my dick. And you can suck my dick. What's up?
Enough.
What up? But say shit pussy about me. What up?
Come on. Stop.
What up?
Now, I want y'all to listen to this right here. Notice, shout out to Genuine Trucker Twines that the mom started arguing with her neighbors to threatening them. A man could never get away with something like this. Now, I want y'all to notice something which just happened right here. First, the mother was talking to the people that pulled over on the side, I guess trying to be concerned or whatever, and then she was like, can I help you? Then notice the daughter joined in and started cussing back at those same people. So it's a weird dynamic that's going on here. You have, on one hand, the daughter's trying to get away from the mother, but then on the other hand, she's tag teaming with the mother to cuss out the people in the van. He said, what state is this in? This is in New York. And this recently happened because it was a big snowstorm that just came through here. Was it last week? So this just happened like a week or so ago. But yeah, this happened in New York.
What up?
Stop.
Get out. Bro, you're still talking. Let me go.
Poor Chauvin.
Bitch.
Yeah, mom's trying to start a fight with cars driving by now, so get a couple cars done. Stop.
And notice the girl is trying to get into a confrontation with the people in the van. And the cop is trying to hold her back from doing it, but he's not being successful. One, because he's holding her by one hand, and two, because it's snowing. And he probably didn't want to grab her and yoke her up. At least not yet. Appreciated London Ghoul for the super chat. He said, much respect, Torian. Thank you.
Stop. Put her in your car.
Okay, so now they call for backup.
Yeah. Stop. You gotta tell this officer where you pulled him. Come on.
I'm not going over. I'm on my dad.
247, we don't need you here. Hey! Get back in your house!
No! I want my dad!
You're not gonna run off.
I want my dad!
Stop.
I want my dad! I'm not getting in no car! I want my dad!
So now you hear her yelling out saying that she wants her dad. That's what you hear now in the audio, well, in the video. It's her screaming out that she wants her dad. And this is the part of the video where most people probably saw it from. They probably didn't see that whole first part of the exchange.
Oh my God, no! Wait, my mom, she's pregnant though.
You done?
My mom pregnant. Oh yeah.
Stop.
Oh,
247.
I want my dad.
Lost for SR. Mom's still trying
Wait,
to play.
please. You gonna help my mom? She's pregnant.
Now listen to that. She said that her mom is pregnant. She's yelling out for her dad, and she says that her mom is pregnant. And Kendra has said something to the effect of that this is like Stockholm Syndrome when you are living with your abuser while at the same time protecting your abuser. Now, I'm seeing in the chat people are saying that the mother did an interview recently, and you could tell by her demeanor, even in the interview, that she was lying about some things or making and fabricating some things up, which, based on her attitude or how she's acting here, would not in the least bit surprise me. And I'm also seeing in the chat people are saying that it was a domestic dispute between her and the girl's father or something like that. It's a lot of moving parts to this.
Custody.
Please.
Let's go. Get up.
I want my dad.
Get up.
I want my dad. I want my dad.
I got a car out here.
I want my dad.
I got one car out here. Get in the car! Get in the car now! Okay? What are you doing? What are you doing? Because you're going to go to jail now too.
I want my dad, wait! I just want to see my dad, please!
Get in the car. Get in the car. Get in the car. I don't care what you're doing. Get in the car!
I'm gonna skip it ahead a little bit because it's just showing this right here and just like a bunch of noise in the background. It's nothing really, no audio coming from it, so I'm gonna skip ahead just a little bit.
I'm ready to take mom to jail too.
Okay, but you need to get warm.
Now look at how many cops had to be called for this. Look at how many cops had to be called for this. Like, let me skip back a little bit.
Okay, but you need to get.
Look at how many cops had to be called for this. That's crazy. Now I want y'all to pay attention. Hold on, let me skip back a little bit. Pay attention to her. This woman right here, this Karen right here, is the one who was responsible for, I think she was the one that tased her, or she was the one that told them to tase her. The male cops did not want to tase her. They didn't plan on pulling a taser out on her. Because trust and believe, if that cop wanted to tase her, he would have been did it toward the beginning of the confrontation that he had with her initially. But the one and only female cop there was the one that told them to tase her, or she was the one that did it. Roll comments. This happened in New York. It happened in Rochester, New York. Look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They practically blocked off an entire intersection for one child.
Yeah. No. Her hands are freezing. Get in the car. I'm done telling you. Get in the car. Get in the car.
Too hard.
247. You got a rig stage.
Yes, there is a rig time.
Alright, just keep him staged for a minute.
Brett, are you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
How are you, Brett?
Just need a neighborhood check.
Yeah,
Mom's out here. Mom's out here trying to fight people driving by.
I'll go right now.
129. She's the one that called originally.
Okay, what do you want, a depot or what?
I'm ready to take Mom.
I'll take Mom Stress and I'll go arrest her.
I
mean,
And that's pretty much the end of the video. Now, I don't know if she gets tased in that part, on this part of the video, but we know that it does happen, and this chick right here is responsible for it. Listen, that was a lot. To everybody watching, that was a lot to watch. So now everybody who was watching this stream can say that they've seen the entire, well, it says part 1 of 2, but I'm assuming y'all have already seen part 2. But y'all didn't see what led up to this. But I actually saw this on Kendra's channel, and I have no words. I cannot really put into words what I just saw. That was unreal. Because it's one thing when you hear about these type of stories, but then it's another thing to actually see it play out in real time. Like, this thing moved in layers. Now, I'm hearing that there's a warrant out for the father's arrest because of an alleged domestic dispute between him and the mother. And I guess that's what made the mother stab him. But, you know, based on how she was acting, who knows what the actual truth is. But one thing we know for sure is that this girl was crying out for her dad a lot in this video. So apparently she must have felt safer with her dad rather than with her mom. And you can tell by this video the way that her mom constantly lunged at her to attack her, even while the cop was there, that she feels not so safe with her. But like I said, the Stockholm Syndrome kicked in, like Kendra said in her video, when she started to tag team with her mother and cursing out the people that were driving by and talking about how her mom is pregnant, even while her mom came out there in that snow while she's pregnant to try to fight her daughter, while cussing her out at the same time. And then, you know, at this point, the girl, she's very emotionally, like, out there. Like, all she wanted to see or all she wanted to hear from was her dad. Like, she didn't want to see or hear anything else but that. This is going to have traumatizing effects on this child for the rest of her life. for sure. She's never going to forget this day for as long as she lives. This is going to be ingrained in her head for the rest of her days. And she's going to need all kinds of therapy to get through this. She probably needed it way before this, honestly. But man, this was a crazy, like, look at, here it is right here. This video has 626 likes and over 1,800 dislikes. And it was posted January 31st. Last week. Well, hold on. Last week, or was it earlier this week? Earlier this week. Sunday. So it's not even a week old. This video is not even a week old. But like Kendra said in her video, what you saw right here is how you create the ratchet of today. She's 9. She's not 19. So I don't know what else is to come of this. I don't feel like going to look at the mother's interview because I really almost at this point don't care what the mother has to say. She showed her whole hand and her whole ass in this video. Notice they tased the daughter, but they didn't tase the mother. I'm surprised they didn't go after the mother when she tried to lunge and attack her daughter, and kind of did when she grabbed her. But yeah, hopefully this girl gets the help that she needs, and she needs to get the help fast and away from her mother. Let me move on to this next story. This actually was going to be my last story until 2 more stories popped up that I wanted to talk about. So this story I wanted to talk about right here, speaking of one crazy story to another, this one right here. Now, I would have shown the video to this one, but YouTube took the video down. In case y'all didn't hear, there was this incident that happened in Pennsylvania during the snowstorm. Like I said, if you was on the East Coast from like where I'm at on up, you all got hit by the snow. There was a incident where you had it was 3 people involved. They were both neighbors. You had a husband and wife and another neighbor. The neighbor lived across the street. Now the story that I'm hearing is that these neighbors had a feud. Like, they had a huge feud going on with each other for a long time. And you can tell by looking at the video that this was not something that just happened overnight. This was something that happened over time. Where I think the neighbor was shoveling snow and from what I heard, has shoveled the snow into the neighbor's yard, the other neighbor's yard. And the neighbor had got upset and said, "Look, stop shoveling snow into my yard." And they continued to do so. So then after that, a shouting match ensued. Like, the husband and the other neighbor, who was a male neighbor, by the way, all 3 of the people that were involved with this are PC. They all got into it. Well, the husband and the male neighbor got into it with each other. And then all of a sudden, the wife got into it. And she escalated it. That's one thing. Ladies, hear me out when I say this. If you are in a relationship with a man and he's having an argument or a disagreement with another man, don't jump in the argument and think that you are making things better. You're actually making it worse. You're escalating it. And that's what she did. So then it went from a shouting match with each other to the neighbor going into his house, getting his gun, coming back outside, and shooting at the male neighbor who was married to that woman. He shot him right there in his driveway. And if you watch the video, you can actually see him falling to the ground, and you can hear him screaming out in pain from being shot. But that's not all. The wife was dumb enough to stand there and act like he wasn't going to do nothing to her. Oh, nah. He had smoke for her just as much as he had for the husband. He went and got, I think, another gun and came back outside and shot her. And then that wasn't enough. He then went over and stood over her body, and to make sure she was dead, pop, 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 went back to his house and then killed himself. If y'all saw the video, you actually saw all of that happen. Like, I'm not even exaggerating anything that I'm saying in this commentary. I'm only telling you what I saw because that's what happened. And the video had audio, so you could hear them talking. You can hear them screaming at each other. You can hear the gunshots. You can hear him screaming out in pain after he's shot. You can hear her screaming out when she gets shot. It says 3 dead in a murder-suicide over snow removal dispute. Jeffrey Spade shot and killed his neighbors in Plains Township, Pennsylvania over a snow removal dispute. It said Jeffrey Spade fatally shot his neighbors James Goy and his wife Lisa Goy before killing himself on Monday morning when officers were called to a Westburg street in Plains Township about 15 miles west of Scranton, according to Luzerne County District Attorney Office. Prosecutors said a man in Pennsylvania shot and killed a couple in a murder-suicide over a snow removal dispute. The same day, a major winter storm dumped more than 30 inches of snow in parts of the Northeast. Let's see if there's anything. It says surveillance videos reveal that Spade and the Goys were involved in disputes before. We can clearly see that. If you look at that video and how they were talking to each other, like I said, this isn't something that sparked overnight. This was something that was festering over time. They said prosecutors said James Goy threatened Spade and cocked his fist, prompting Spade to retreat into his home and return with a pistol. While the Goys acknowledged he had a gun, prosecutors said they continued to shout names at him from the middle of the street. Spade opened fire and shot the Goys before turning to his home to get another gun to deal the killing blow. Like you got to really think about this. This guy went in the house, grabbed one gun, came out to shoot them both. And when he saw that they were not dead, he went back into his house and got his other gun, came back outside and made sure that they were dead and popped them. Then went back inside and killed himself. Like, if y'all see the actual video, it's way more intense than how I'm explaining it. I'm just giving y'all a visual because I can't pull the video up. And I know y'all are flooding the chat right now with white on white crime, and it is. Now, I wonder how long this story is going to stay in the news. Because it came out on February 3rd, and it is now February 5th. Now, I'm going to move on to my last story of the day. This story has been weighing heavily on my brain ever since I first learned about it. Like, it's a crazy story. It's a very sad one at the same time. Who has heard about this man by the name of Clyde Kerr III, who is this guy right here, who was a black police officer who basically left out several videos talking about the racism that goes on in these police departments, and then all of a sudden one day he just pulled up to his job that gave him the most grief and in his uniform and shot himself. I'm going to go ahead and play this one video right here. It's 2 minutes and 18 seconds long. This is just one of like 4 videos. I don't know where the other ones are at.
The problem is we're not giving them another healthy alternative. Like, I mean, the adults are just as bad. Y'all are the ones who are doing. What are the children seeing? Now, I am not perfect. There was only one perfect. I am not him. I am not saying that. I am not perfect. But what I tried to do is do right by them, try to be as good for them as I possibly can, because I would want that for my children. I do. I by default am spending more time with them than y'all are, and I'm not talking about a jab or anything, because I mean I got to work too. I'm not with my sons right now. But even with that said, you know, I'm close to your kids. We're not doing right by them. And I'm not saying these specific kids. I'm talking about everybody in general, across the board. There's enough blame to be given, and just how we think that we can just do anything to anyone, and like the murdering and the life. Okay, well, say it that way. The lives that are being taken, because they're being taken individually, sometimes they're in group mass. It's I don't know, man. This is beyond me, and I can't think how this has gotten to the point that it's the norm. Nothing else matters but life. Because if there isn't anything there, there's no existence of anything. There's no propagation of anything. It's not going to keep going on. Only life matters. Only life matters. That is it. And if you fall under that umbrella, everybody is doing it at once. We're going through life together. It is one experience. It's not like we're going through, you know, separate whatever. I'm not even delving into no nonsense like that. We're going through this present right now. Let's deal with what we're dealing with here and the here and now before we start expounding on other things and try to say that, you know, whatever. Like I said, not a point that I'm going to cover. What I'm saying is we need to do better by each other.
All right. So that was just one video. I don't know if I can find or retrieve the other ones. Okay, here's oh man, this is a 16-minute one right here. I'm trying to think, should I play this one? Because it's pretty long. Let's see.
I've had enough of all of this nonsense of serving a system that
I don't know if y'all can hear it. It's kind of low.
Like me, or
so y'all might have to turn your volume up.
About life in general, and this is my statement. If this isn't something to state that this killing that's going on, especially by the police, which I am, I can't abide by this no more. I'm not having anything to do with this nonsense anymore. Call me what you want, try to discredit me. I have been a stellar deputy in this 5+ years that I've been there. My last eval's been sent, it's copied to somebody. I can't be discredited. Never so much as one write-up for maybe some reports being late.
The minute that he said he had enough, he was already fed up. He was already at his wit's end, as they call it. Like, he was done. But, you know, initially, no one would see if he meant as in he's had enough on life and he's ready to check out, which unfortunately he did. Or was he about to pull a Christopher Dorner? Like, you can look at the expression on his face. It's almost like it's no life there. It's almost like it's soulless. It's nothing there. It's like a shell, an empty shell of what used to be. And he's done. You can tell he was done because he took his hat off. When he said, I'm done, I'm fed up, he took his hat off and slammed it on the table. It's little things like that, little nuances like that I pick up on with body language. It's always good to be a good reader of body language.
None whatsoever. So it can't be said that, I was a shammer or anything like that, or I wasn't pulling my weight. And just for contextual purposes, I just want y'all to understand what I'm coming from. It's my entire life has been in service of other people. And it's just dawned on me that this time, as of now, needs to be seized because...
Before I go any further, this is why I advocate that black people as a collective get mental health checks. Because how many black people do you think out there have this same mentality? They probably... Listen, it is probably so many black people out there right now who have the mindset of, I want to just end it all right now. but they don't have an outlet to actually tell someone that to, or to tell that to someone. He probably felt like he was doing the right thing, but it wasn't enough. He probably went and tried to talk to people, but he already knew what would happen. I'm saying, of course they said he had a wife and a family. I think they said he had 2 sons and everything like that. Like, how could he end his life and leave his wife and his family behind? He probably was like, look, if I don't do this and I put this out here while I'm still breathing, they're going to come after them. I hope they still don't come after them anyway, but who knows what was going through his head? And it looks like, based on the cap he was wearing, he was in the military, so he might have had some kind of PTSD.
You don't really give a damn about us. That is the truth. That is the truth. I've served with a full heart in the military. After that, got back into law enforcement, and you have no idea how hard it is to put a uniform on in this day and age.
He said he served in the military. He went into the law enforcement, and he said, as a police officer, you have no idea how hard it is to put on that uniform in this day and age. And it's probably like a bigger deal for him because he's a black man himself. So he has to deal, like, he's getting it from both ends. He's getting it from his co-workers that work with him, that he probably sees the stuff that they do to black people often. It's sort of like I said, it's literally like the Christopher Dorner effect. Like, he sees the stuff that they do with other black people. He's a black man himself. Then he probably also has to hear from other black people on the outside who are like saying F the police and everything like that, and they're including and lumping him in with that. So it's like a double-edged sword for him. He really has no outlet. Like, he has no escape. So he probably felt like, with all of that weighing on top of him, he felt like his only escape was to kill himself. And so I guess he feels like, if I die today, I have freed myself of this burden. Like, it's really symbolic that he did this in his uniform and drove to his job and killed himself in the parking lot. He didn't do it at home. He didn't do it at some other abandoned location. He did it at his job that gave him the most grief. I've heard of people committing suicide before, but I've never seen or heard of anybody go to the place that gave them the most problems, go and kill themselves there. Which means he planned to do that. Like, he put out all these videos, and I think this video right here that I'm playing is probably the most potent one. I think this is the one that a lot of people have seen.
With everything that's going on. None. And
who's to say that he wasn't, or he didn't want to pull a Christopher Dorner or a Micah Johnson? Who's to say that he didn't want to do that? That's probably something that was probably floating in his head to do, but he just decided not to go with that option. Not everybody is built like that. But it does say something that I think he actually probably spoke for a lot of black cops that work in these departments. Well, the ones that aren't compromised.
Listen, y'all entrust me to safeguard your little ones, your small ones, the thing that's most precious to y'all, and I did that well. Y'all trust me with that. I've had security clearance in the military. That's verifiable. If I was untrustworthy, if I was a threat, would they let me guard the U.S. Embassy in Kabul? Which I did. I trained Iraqi police, Afghan national police, and that's not it. But I wouldn't have been put in a position of that if they thought I was a threat. But
okay, I'm seeing something in the chat. Angie said that she read that he separated from his wife in 2020, but got back together in 2016, and then they got a divorce in 2020. So I don't know if that was a factor in this, as far as I know, because I don't think he mentioned anything about his personal life in these videos.
That has allowed me to see the inner working of things. And this is a demonic system, and it's not anything I can continue to serve and want to be a part of. And this is not right. This is no form of justice. Let's go down the list. Botham shot in his own apartment. How that work? How does that work? Chilling on his couch. I don't give a damn if he had weed in the apartment. You're going to execute somebody for that? Oh no, y'all are good for that. You break up families for a plant. This war on drugs and this
No, Kenneth Jones. He had, I think he had 2 sons.
Nonsense. But now it's starting to get legal because big pharmaceutical companies stand to make billions off of it, and they paid off the lobbyists, who in turn have started ushering the way it needs to go for them. The countless people who are doing time behind that. How do you even make amends for that? You can't. You can't. This Floyd, man, Brianna, this shit is not right. I'm telling you, it's not. If this feels right to you as a person, then something is wrong with you. This is the furthest thing from right. This is the manner of wickedness that bro. And you're getting away with it. When is enough going to be enough for people? Huh? Seriously. Y'all are radicalizing people, and then when they buck and they want to go against the system because...
Appreciate the super chat, Genuine Trucker Twan. He said, life is hard. It can leave you physically, mentally, and emotionally scarred. 50 Cent, R.I.P.
Because it's not for them. You come down on them with a hammer. I can't. I don't understand this. I do not understand this. It's getting to the point now. Let me tell y'all something. Again, I'm gonna go back into it. I'm gonna be wrapping up pretty soon. None of this is happenstance. Do you understand me? None of this is happenstance at all. If you think it's possible that all of this is happenstance with everything that's happened in this immediate area, no. Pellerin, I don't know all the inner workings of that, but between that and just, man. Listen, I understand we have a tough job, but we signed up for this. We need help. Because we deal with the bottom rung of society. It does not give us an excuse to just do whatever we want, and that's what we're doing, and we're not being held accountable. And it's just allowed. Not per se in the environment that I'm in, because, I don't do normal police work anymore, but I've done it. Look, I was on duty the night Middlebrook got killed. That's hard enough to process when you hear that call come out. I was posted up in front of Troop I, setting up a perimeter, and then they called him. Went back to my normal zone, which was south, Youngsville Highway, see the vehicles going by, about to make that notification. Get another call, another murder. All the stuff that took place that night, the guys who were south with me, we got a letter of recognition because we did our job. That was just one night for us. Police officers need mental health, because you can't tell me what happened in Milwaukee. That should have been caught. That dude was like an automaton. He didn't have any. It was just completely apathetic. That should have got caught. That is a failure of leadership, and it's a systemic thing. Look at it like this. He was the senior most person there. Okay. The freshest person there, the rookie, he was like 2 weeks out of FTO. He's not going to check somebody that's got 10 plus years and say something. He thinks it's the norm. He's just going to go along with it. And that is the indoctrination and everything. It hasn't happened here. It hasn't been around me. But I see how it happens. So all this code of blue silence, nah.
And notice what he's saying in this video. He's basically putting out and airing out all of their business. You know how they always talk about that blue wall of silence? He's breaking that blue wall down. And he's basically telling us stuff that goes on. He's basically doing what, you know how Christopher Dorner did his manifesto all about back in 2013. This is basically what he's doing. This is basically, I don't want to say it's a manifesto, but he's basically spilling the beans on a lot of stuff that's happening right now. And he already knew. I can't even imagine what was going through his head as he was making this video. He was probably scared. He probably went back and forth whether or not to even make this video. He probably didn't even know or went back and forth whether or not he was going to commit suicide. His nerves were probably shot through the roof. And you can tell by the way he keeps leaning back in his chair, the way he keeps looking up and doing this, the way he keeps moving forward, the way he keeps doing this, lean back. Like, pay attention to like all the body movements. Like I said, body language, you can learn a lot from that. You can tell when someone moves when they talk instead of just talking to you that something is wrong. Because they cannot keep still. Their nerves are keeping them like in a fidgety type of state. You know how a child like constantly, they will probably like when they talk sometimes if they're nervous, they'll lean, they'll look to the side, they'll look around and everything like that because they're probably nervous about something and just looking at an audience is going to probably scare them. But you can tell that he was probably scared to make this video. He said, K. Nicole said, that some people don't believe that he really killed himself. I can see why because of what he's saying in the video. That some will say that he probably didn't kill himself. The question is, are they going to investigate this? That's what I'd like to know. Because, if there's more to it, if they slap the label of him committing suicide, the investigation is not going to go that far. And we know all about that. You know how they like to say, oh, this person hung themselves and they committed suicide. No, I don't believe that.
Sorry. I'm gonna be on the right side of this one, and I would rather be considered crazy and whatever they were going to say about me. Oh, he was under the influence of something.
Appreciate you, Solo Doe. He says that he knows how crooked and racist his peers are. It tortured his conscience until he cannot bear it anymore. And I think he's headed into that with this statement that he's about to make. Let me rewind it back a little bit.
Considered crazy and whatever they were going to say about me. Oh, he was under the influence of something. No, that is an easy cop-out just to say that I am.
Listen to what he just said. He said that they're probably going to look at this and say that I'm crazy, that I was under the influence of something. He said they're probably going to call me crazy or say that I'm under the influence of something. Interesting choice of words.
Because that will then allow a dialogue not to be started. It needs to be talked about. This is insane, about to go off the rails. And I'm not doing it anymore. Loved my job. Loved it. Loved every aspect of it. Finally found something I could call my own and made it my own. And but this is bigger than that. And I'm not gonna do that. There's no way I can just be like, oh, okay, it's no big deal. No, this is a very big deal to me. This is a tipping point. And just to continue to think that we can just do what we've been doing and just hit the status quo like that, and people, no, none whatsoever. This is wrong. It needs to be resisted against, and you have an obligation and a duty to do that. Because if not, you're complacent. As I would be complacent if I continue just doing what I am doing and not saying anything. I've tried to bring things to people's attention, little small things, but it's a system, and I'm a small cog in this whole big machine.
So listen to what he just said. He said he's a small guy in this big giant machine. And basically what he's saying is, even with him telling us the corruption that goes on in these departments that they try to cover up all the time, even he knows his voice is too small for that. Look at what Christopher Dorner did. He wrote a whole manifesto. I read the whole thing too. It took like a good hour to read, but I read it. He wrote a whole manifesto. He did what he did. That didn't change the element out in LA. Micah Johnson did what he did in Texas. That didn't change the element in Texas. Gavin Long did what he did in Louisiana, ironically the same state where this guy was at. Didn't change anything. This guy right here got on here and made this video, said that he offed himself allegedly, and that still won't change anything. So what does that tell you? That even when you fight fire with them, it's going to take a little bit more than that to completely break them down.
But
But he's also saying it's going to take more people to do something. It's going because one person can't do it.
I'm jumping off. No. Come with me. I don't know. I ain't gonna be around for that. That is on y'all. But I can tell you this. There's more good people than bad. Y'all need to figure that shit out real quick because it's the truth. It is the absolute truth. And if y'all ain't got each other's back, then they're going to continue to divide and conquer and just sow dissension and everything between people who actually probably make it be out a good ally. But this whole system, this thing that was built on free slave labor, and there's no way this can't implode on itself. We can't continue on. You won't even give us reparations. That's the thing about it. Y'all thinking about money. It's about being decent. And people are so busy calling themselves Republicans and Democrats, they don't even just be a decent person anymore. That is sad.
That's a very interesting statement he just said. I don't know if you caught that. He said too many people are out here calling themselves Democrats and Republicans, and they don't know, and there's nobody out here that knows how to be a decent human being anymore. Truth be told, a lot of people aren't decent, and some act outside of the realm of being a human being. But that was a very interesting statement that he made. And he's probably playing that off of what's been going on politically, especially with this recent election that just happened.
This is a sad state of affairs. We're leaving our children, and we wonder why they're wilding out, trying to have augmentation and reassignments at 7, 8 years old. This is preposterous. Absolutely preposterous. And y'all let them do it like it's cool. Because you want to be able to get away with yours and be like, oh, well, they're doing that. No, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. So, with that said, no sense in griping unless you actually have some things that...
And also, now that we're on it, can you imagine how many of his own people that he talked to, maybe he talked to or tried to talk to other black people about this? Because truth be told, it's a lot of us that would not listen to what this guy's saying. Like he said that people write him off as crazy and stuff like that. You have a lot of people in our own community that will write him off and say that he's crazy, that you're over exaggerating, that you're doing too much, that you're being extra.
That you can think that it could probably be fixed. There needs to be more civilian oversight, like an advisory committee. I think they need to have term limits, whether they be appointed or elected, a certain amount of hours for being in a ride-along required. Scenario familiarization, put them through scenarios, because the general public doesn't know what we go through. This is it.
Now, really pay attention to this. Let me rewind it back a little bit. He's landed on about what the requirements is to even get into these departments. Because, a lot of times they don't tell you that. But he's telling like a lot of requirements and it looks like some very low level requirements, which doesn't surprise me.
Probably be fixed. There needs to be more civilian oversight, like an advisory committee. I think they need to have term limits, whether they be appointed or elected, a certain amount of hours for being in a ride-along required. scenario familiarization, put them through scenarios, because the general public doesn't know what we go through. This is it. That night I described to you, that was a bad night for me. That was a bad night for me, just to carry on this. But I processed it. Police officers are exposed to the debris in the bottom rung of society, and then they're expected to keep a stiff chin. It's not affecting them. It is affecting your psyche. I'm telling you, it is. You cannot be exposed to that and not expect it to manifest itself in some way. Nobody calls the police when they're having a good day. It's the truth, right? Domestics got robbed, something like that. Something you need somebody in a uniform. Your bad day, that might be the first call on my shift that I'm about to have another maybe half a dozen of those. And I'm lucky if they're not as severe as this one. It might be worse. Anyway, so I think it needs to be, along with this committee, they need to have standardized training, whether that be an abbreviated type of academy, but they need to be familiar with procedures. And they need to be familiar with statutes as per a specific state. But this is what I'm saying, this needs to happen. It needs to almost be based like how everybody was doing their own thing for training before the San Jose model came out. It needs to be structured like that, and it needs to be recognized accordingly, across the board. Mental health and wellness, they definitely need that. Look, we need, I don't know how we're going to do it. We get people get one psych eval or just checkup, and that's in the hiring process. And some people have squeaked through, because I know some cops that should not be cops, honestly. They just, I don't think they have the makeup for it. And they're going to say, oh, he did. No, this not even night and day. Whether it be, I don't think annual is good, because a lot can happen a year, whether that be semi-annual or quarterly.
He's basically not talking about mental health checkups, which is something that a lot of these departments lack, and you can tell that a lot of these cops are unhinged and very unstable. Some of them look like they just got snatched out of an asylum where they're in a straitjacket hugging themselves for damn near 24 hours a day. And they thrust them out into society and then put them in these departments. He said that there needs to be more frequent mental health checkups, not annually, not even semi-annually.
It needs to happen. And it's in the stigma that is surrounding it needs to be lifted too, because that is insane. We need help. People need help. It's okay to say you need help. You get exposed to a lot going on.
Because notice, I'm sorry to keep pausing, but notice that every time there's something that happens with these cops and they do something outside of their protocol, what's one of the first things that they do? Oh, we're going to, do some more training. It's the training that they got before putting on the uniform that led them to acting out irrationally. It's not the training. Well, it is the training, the lack of proper training anyway. But it's something else that needs to be done too, that a lot of these departments don't want to implement, and he just said it in this video. And that is getting them psych evaluations. Make them take psych evaluations and make them pass that before they even pick up a gun. Because if you're mentally unstable, you shouldn't be holding a gun, much less even holding a taser.
Through life. But only life matters. That's it. You get exposed to a lot. I understand it. I've been exposed to a lot. Peer evaluations, and that's not something as far as the along the lines of trying to be vindictive, but kind of the maybe anonymous red card, blue card thing like we had in going through the section. More transparency. I understand certain things can't be divulged, but the public doesn't trust us. We are losing the public's trust. We are losing the public's trust. We serve at the pleasure of the public. You lose that, you lose your right and authority to govern. And that is happening. You can't do wicked stuff and then be like, okay, well, cool, we're just doing our jobs. Who you doing?
basically, when he just said that, basically he was seeing, you can tell he was seeing stuff in the department that he was working at. He didn't call anybody out, but you can tell that he was speaking in subliminals. And he said that you would see things in his departments and they would just brush it off like it was nothing. But he saw it and it was like, really, you actually did this and you actually were able to go home and sleep at night and comfortably knowing what you did. Because that's what happened with Christopher Dorn. It's a level of, I guess you can say, consciousness that black people have if they work in these departments that they have that PC does not have for the most part. But then have the nerve to call us savages.
Doing your job for. That's not doing your job. That's a cop-out. That is a cop-out. This is something for me. I thought would be better just to add in development and expansion of like an Explorer type program. And I know they've had it before, but kids say they want to be cops, but I mean, we're not giving them a reason to do it. And we need to foster more mentorship. And it needs to be like more of some kind of a program to help kids stay on a scare straight. Let's bring that back. Let them see what it's like. But also give them a healthy option and just get them out and just like get them out of their normal hoods or whatever it is. They don't know what else is out there. What we're showing them is the only option we're giving. And then what do you expect? Listen, I'm wrapping it up because I've rambled way too long. Didn't even touch on half the stuff I wanted to, but yeah, this needs to stop. This needs to stop. This is my protest against police brutality and everything else that comes along with it in this broken, wicked, worldly system that does not give a damn about people. I don't know what it cares about, but it don't care about us. It truly don't. It does not. It does not. So I hope y'all do something with that. And then let it not have... No, there's no way that this and the people who have been in touch with me this past week and all this stuff, it has been confirmation that this is. I mean, it can't. There's no other way that this is possibly supposed to not happen. It is. It was preordained for this to happen. Regardless of what you may think, and that's on you. I know what I gotta do. Search your heart, find out what you gotta do. Everybody has a different role to play. This part, this is mine.
All right, so that was the entire video. I didn't expect to play the entire thing, but I got so intrigued and wrapped in with what he said. And the last words that he says, I don't know. He says, I know what I have to do. He says, I know. He said, he's like basically said, everybody has a path and I know what mine is. Of course, that could have meant anything at the time, but now we know what it is. Allegedly, what it is. If y'all remember, now, of course, I wasn't even born yet when this happened. This was back during the Nixon administration, with Watergate and everything like that. If y'all remember, the person who exposed Nixon was a black man. He was a security guard, I think. He was the one that blew the whistle about Nixon's role with Watergate. And they could have easily found a way to take that man out. Because you got to think, Nixon was a sitting president. They could have easily found a way to take that man out. But they said, you know what? That's too easy. And if we take him out, it's going to link back to us. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to blackball him. We're going to make sure that he never works anywhere in any industry, whether high, mid, or low level, ever again. And they made sure of that. That man couldn't even get a job as a custodial worker after what happened. Now you got to think for a second.
How bad that has to be for a man who has to provide for his family. And because he saw something he wasn't supposed to see, and he felt he was doing his due diligence by saying something, that instead of him being rewarded for what he did, he gets shunned and blackballed out of every industry. That means no more paychecks rolling in, no more benefits, none of that. I remember when I found out that story a few years ago from somebody who went to the same college I went to, but not at the same time that I did, and they were saying that that was their relative. I'm not sure how they were related, but they said that was a relative of theirs, and they were telling me that story. And then I looked it up. It was a black security guard that exposed Nixon in the Watergate scandal. Only doing what he felt he was supposed to do, and that's how he got rewarded, was to blackball him out of every job industry possible. He probably, like, because of lack of funds, who knows what happened to that guy. I don't even know if he's still alive. You said Frank Wilson? Thank you. Because, for years I forgot I didn't even know what his name was. I just knew he was black. So his name was Frank Wilson. But that just shows you how they get down. When they feel you've crossed them, that's what'll happen. They said, we'll let him suffer because taking him out is too easy. And it comes back on us. It'll look too obvious that we did it. So you say you think he died? Well, I wouldn't be surprised because that happened so long ago. That was back in the early 70s. And that guy, I don't know how old he was at the time when that occurred. But RIP to this man. I know that's a burden that he had to carry for such a long time. And the burden got the best of him, unfortunately. Yeah, that story about now what I know is named Frank Wilson with the Watergate scandal and Nixon. That's a story they don't tell you about. You hear about Watergate, and you know it's Nixon, but you don't hear about the person who exposed it and what happened because of that. We know it was a very popular scandal, but you don't know more behind it or who exposed it and what happened to the person who did the exposing. And the fact that they allowed him to get blackballed like that lets you know that there was a lot more hands on that than what they say. Okay, you say he did that. Okay, so he did pass on. Okay. Little Miss Firecracker, no, I did not hear about that story. I can go and look that up, and if it's something there, I can do a video about it. But I'm gonna go ahead and in the video, in the stream, I should say, on that note, because it is almost 6:30, and like I said, this was going to be a loaded stream. I had a lot to talk about. I'm glad everybody came through. Shout out to everybody who liked the stream, shared the stream. Shout out to all the contributors, whether it was through the Super Chat or through Cash App. Again, if you want to get notifications for every time I upload a new video, text that number that's right there at the top of the screen, 301-747-0390, so you can be notified every time I upload a new video or whenever I go live. With that being said, the videos, of course, will be going back to normal tomorrow. The usual times, the usual 4 time slots that I give every time I upload.